もし諦めたら悔いが残る。
この感じ何度も体験したことがある。まさにドラゴンを相手にしてる気分。
Hey, hey, my dear pirates, here on the channel, Straw Hat One Piece Theories. And in today's video, we're going to talk about the mark that Dragon carries on his face. What will be the true meaning of this brand? Does this mark hide some hidden power? And the most important question is, will she mean something to Luffy in the future of One Piece? Well, that's what we're going to talk about in today's video, but first of all, so if you want to be a pirate king like me and achieve eternal glory, go ahead and press the like button with all the power of your devil fruit, and if you're new here, my dear sailor, already subscribe to the channel and don't forget to activate the notifications bell, okay? Then join this crew that will dominate the entire Grand Line and the New World. Now without further ado, let's get to this epic video. And well, my dear pirate, it's not a secret for anyone that the author of One Piece, Eiichiro Oda, loves to play with symbols and allegories within his manga. All this to make a greater parallel with our reality, but one of the things that Oda also likes to do with these symbologies is to take them and connect them from one character to another. In this way, he manages to make several characters practically linked to a wide variety of symbols and archetypes that make us, the fans, theorize each of these clues left by Oda throughout the manga in order to discover what actually happened. This great writer to tell us. One of the main ones is the last name, D. Although there are already several theories about what the D's actually represent for the story of One Piece, in reality, we still don't know anything, and all we have is speculation. But as I said, Oda goes beyond that. There are many other symbols, and what I would like to talk about in this video are the marks and tattoos. While we still haven't found out what the D's really represent, at least the marks that Oda likes to leave on his characters give us a clearer message of what he wants to represent with each of them. Of course, in the end, we're just going to theorize about this, but unlike other symbologies, Oda's marks are much clearer in what they represent. After all, who doesn't remember Nami's tattoo that was practically a mark of her servitude to Triton Arlong? All that small Nami Village salvation arc and her joining Luffy's gang as well as her release from Arlong was literally all guided and marked in her tattoo. It was amazing to see Nami try to rip the mark off with the knife, that one mark that was practically her record of servitude, at the same time that it was even more incredible to see her replace that mark with another in the future that represented not only the weather wane of her village, but also the freedom of her people. This just proves how Oda really enjoys working with these symbologies to explain to us more about his characters and how they will develop over time. Another important mark is the mark of Zoro's eye, which literally refers to Rayleigh's mark, which, like Zoro, is the right arm, and the most faithful man to his captain, his first captain, and second leader of the group. Anyway, there are several marks and tattoos that Oda created that want to tell us something, but the marks of Luffy, Dragon, and Shanks are the ones that most call my attention. Mainly because they are all from the same side and all represent something great. Shanks received his scar after facing Blackbeard, who is the enemy that we all consider to be the last to be defeated by Luffy. In other words, Shanks was marked by an opponent that he himself possibly will not defeat, but lo and behold, Luffy makes his own scar to prove to Shanks that he was worthy of being a pirate. Not a simple pirate, but an even greater pirate than Shanks himself. This ends up making a bridge between Luffy and Blackbeard, and this bridge is Shanks. It's like Shanks has passed his mark on Luffy to continue his legacy. I talk about this in more depth in another video, but to me it is as clear as the clearest water that Shanks is Luffy's guide, and Luffy, having not only received the fruit from Nika, but also the scar, closes the bond that unites these characters in a single goal, that is to save the world. So my dear pirate, can you see how everything is interconnected, how the brand that Luffy carries is a huge symbology? And that's because I didn't even mention that this brand also carries the weight of Shanks, having given his arm to push Luffy to become the greatest pirate of all. Everything Oda puts in his manga has a purpose. But then you might be wondering, but where does the mark or tattoo of Dragon fit into the story? What's so important about her? Well, to explain this, we have to go back a little in the past of Dragon, in the past that is being revealed to us little by Vegapunk. As we can see, in the last chapters, more precisely in chapter 1066, it was revealed to us that Dr. Vegapunk and Luffy's father, Dragon, were friends. And if you notice and look closely at Dragon, you will see that at that moment, that even he still didn't have the mark on his face, and he wasn't a revolutionary yet. But anyway, in his conversation with Vegapunk, Dragon reveals that he's sad with his friend for being on the side of the world government. Even more so after what the government had just done to the Ohara Island that was home to much of the knowledge that still existed in the world until then. Dragon was disgusted by what happened, and so the same year he found the revolutionaries alongside Ivankov and Kuma. Dragon swore to Vegapunk that even if the world government was more powerful and had a bigger army, he would still form an army as powerful or more powerful in order to change the world and bring freedom to it. Soon after that, he learned that Vegapunk was experimenting and even created several synthetic devil fruits, and it is precisely at this point in the story that I wanted to get to. Dragon was already furious with the world government before the destruction of Ohara. The destruction of that island was the trigger for Dragon to rebel against the world government for God, and this raises the theory that Dragon was perhaps an admiral or something, but this is something we can talk about in another video. The point I would like to focus on is that something big has happened since the Ohara incident and the birth of Luffy. Yes, probably Luffy's mother suffered an attack or died after Luffy's birth that occurred 3 years after Ohara burned into flames. This certainly angered Dragon and made him want to end the world government once and for all, but probably he still didn't have what it took to do that. And here comes another theory that says that the dragon fruit, which is supposedly the climate fruit, was created by Vegapunk to help him fight the hidden world government, but I believe that in fact this fruit is a synthetic fruit, that it was created from Kaido's DNA, just like the fruit that Vegapunk gave to Momonosuke, but in an improved form. With that, in other words, the fruit of the dragon, king of time. The comparison of Dragon with the Dragon King was very good. Researching, I realized that the powers match the powers we saw Dragon use. The spirit dragons, a type of king dragon, these controlled the climate upon which life was dependent. They had to be appeased, for if they were overcome with anger or simple neglect, disaster would follow. Dragon of the North, Ao Shun, is the Dragon King of the North Sea. His name is Ao Ming or Ao Shun. In addition to preferring aquatic life, Dragon Kings also manipulate clouds and rain when enraged. They can flood cities. In short, dragons control rain, clouds, and the weather in general. This is well suited as a dragon's power, but there is a flaw in this theory. If Dragon was a user of a devil fruit of this type, he would need to transform into a dragon in order to enjoy the power. I say this comparing not only with the behavior of any Zoan user, but also with the functioning of the smile ingested by Momonosuke, identical to a Zoan of the dragon, but it is artificial based on Kaido's powers. To be able to fly, creating clouds, Momonosuke had to be transformed into a dragon. However, this failure can be answered by my thesis that the synthetic fruit that Vegapunk gave Dragon is an improved fruit, to the point that it makes Dragon use its powers without having to transform into a dragon in fact. And the answer to that is in your mark on the face. The mark of Dragon looks a lot like dragon scales, and he didn't have them before meeting Vegapunk. In other words, this mark of Dragon could rather mean the power of a synthetic fruit. And here, again, Luffy enters the subject. For imagining that Luffy was generated by Dragon and his wife about 2 years after the destruction of Ohara, and Dragon already had in his body the DNA of the synthetic fruit in his body, possibly this DNA was passed to Luffy too. And this would be one more connection to the mark that Luffy carries on his face, as well as his guide, Shanks, and his father. Luffy carries a mark that brings weight to the character in the story, and precisely this mark is on his left side of the face. This cannot be just a simple coincidence. As I said, Oda likes to play with these symbologies. And you want another proof of that? Sabo also has a mark on his left side of his face, and precisely the 4 characters that have the most impact on the world and on the world government carry distinct but similar marks at the same side of their face. This wasn't put out for nothing. This has a purpose. However, the mark of the dragon may end up giving Luffy a new power, or it may be Luffy's last card for the end of One Piece. Can you imagine Luffy awakening the mark of the dragon and its hidden power? Could this be the analogy that Oda wanted to make with all these characters and their marks? But now I want to know your opinion on this matter. But of course, if you made it this far, it's because you like the content, so it doesn't hurt to subscribe to our channel and become one more member of our fleet, my dear sailor. And of course, do not forget to press the like button, that helps a lot in spreading the video and the channel. So help us to become the largest fleet of pirates here on YouTube, okay? A big hug for everyone, and until the next video,